Hi, I'm Bernd Nussbaumer from macrobeat.co.uk. We'd like to have the closer look at what is happening in the CNH today rather than looking at the macro data, given the market is really ignoring the macro data altogether. In recent weeks, obviously the relationship between the US and China continues to deteriorate. The latest story, obviously the Hong Kong issue with the security bill that the Chinese introduced in Hong Kong, creating a lot more issues in the US. Mr. Pompeo yesterday told senators that the current security bill introduction would really mean that Hong Kong is no longer independent, which would probably threaten the special status Hong Kong has on trade relations with the US. So that is definitely a story we have to watch. But there's definitely more going on behind the scenes. Mr. Trump has been relatively quiet around the China issue right now. I think this is more linked to the fact that he is still looking at various measures he could be taking, but I think we have to wait until we get sort of closer to the launch of the election campaign for maybe Trump to show his cards. So I still would expect him to try to pin this entire misery in the US economy on the Chinese for the US voters. So maybe we have to wait a little bit for that one. But I would love to go into the charts, and as I said, we want to do a small sort of China special in a way, with the first slide being the dollar CNH. We have broken the March 2020 high earlier this week. We have actually matched the highs from summer 2019 at just shy below 720, which marks the extremes of the US-China trade war, as well as the devaluation of the CNY back in summer last year. So this is a very critical level. What is amazing is that the global market has completely ignored this so far. Usually if we see these kind of pressures on the CNY and CNH, risk would be selling off, the Aussie would be selling off. It definitely done that in a big way back in last year, as well as obviously March. So this time, very strange for this not to actually be happening. On the next slide, we have the dollar CNH. This is a monthly chart. I really just wanted to show this to actually make you aware of where we actually are in the bigger picture. So we have reached the sort of highs of last year at the height of the trade war. Obviously, the PBOC is definitely weakening the CNH here, which is, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, which is probably more a monetary policy step, because FX is always the fastest transmission mechanism if you want to stimulate the economy. But we could obviously turn this into a politics as well and say this is a kind of little warning shot towards the US in terms of what could happen if they let the CNH and CNY weaken dramatically. As you can see, solely we talk about level of 740, 775 if it would get that bad. On the next slide, we have the Aussie. The Aussie has rallied large on the back of the equity rally that we have seen, moved up to the 76.4 Fibonacci level around 66.75. There is no reaction at all in what's going on from China or in the CNH, which is, as I said, very, very odd indeed. And I think the Aussie might have just reached the sort of level where it will start to top out. We have the 200-day moving average coming in at 66.60. So I see quite a bit of a change in the next few weeks to come. On the next slide, this is just a little hint of what I just said. We see the Aussie in this sort of light orange. We have the CNH inverted as blue. There's quite a divergence going on, and I don't think it's CNH that is going to come back. I really think the Aussie has to adjust for that one. Last but not least, the dollar index, the sad story of the last 6-7 weeks is continuing, but we are now again sort of challenging the lower end of the recent range, and it really starts to feel, together maybe with the Euro bailout story, we could actually finally see this dollar range to break on the downside. I'm still feeling that the dollar has quite a bit of room on the downside. And yet again, we are at the edge of possibly having the final range break, which could take us quite a lot lower. I'm still thinking of 5 to 10% lowering the dollar in the next few weeks or months. This is it from me. Thanks very much indeed. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.